So I ultimately struggled with the idea and felt like such a failure that I put a gun to my head in the back of my truck. And, you know, I squeezed the trigger because I was done. I just didn't want to continue anymore. And as I squeeze the trigger, the gun jams.
Oh.
So the gun jams, and I'm here with all this, like, you know, roller coaster of emotions because I'm like, I don't want to live, but now I'm still here. What is going on? So that's the end of 2016. So at this point, I'm like, look, I've got nothing to lose. I've always loved, you know, the gym, and the gym is the only thing that has ever kept me straight and narrow. I went 100% into being a personal trainer. So April 2017, I created Absolute Flex Appeal.
All right, and now I have the pleasure of bringing on Tyler Andrade. He's the founder of Absolute Flex Appeal. How you doing, Tyler?
Man, I am so excited to be here. This is legit a dream come true.
Well, you are always, one of the things that strikes me about you, you and I know each other a little bit, but you're always the most positive guy in the room. Where does that positivity come from?
I think it just honestly comes from, you know, we'll get into my story, but it's always been, every time I'm here, or, you know, proximity is power, and around such great people, it's like, can I get an autograph type of mentality, you know, like there's no way, like we're doing this. This is insane.
That's awesome. Well, I'm glad you're here. I am a huge fan. I know you and I have hung out together at the Entrepreneurs Unleashed event the other night.
Mm-hmm.
You've come out and watched the show a few times, or at least once, and now you're on the show because you're doing something great. So I want to understand, let's get an overview of your organization,
Sure.
and then let's get your inspirational story.
Okay. So the overview of the organization is, we're kind of multifaceted. When it comes to corporate gyms are really taking a huge cut of personal trainers. So these personal trainers are doing all the work. These personal trainers are building relationships, but they're literally making minimum wage, if not less, because they're losing such high percentages.
Okay, so somebody like a Lifetime or a 24-Hour Fitness, these larger organizations, they have personal trainers inside. But the cut that the corporation is taking is large. You're solving that.
Correct.
Okay.
So we're the solution to that. So we have, you know, elite trainers who come to us, and then we actually are the platform for them to start to become an entrepreneur. They're creating their own schedule. They are creating their own revenue streams. We just give them the platform and the facility, but I'm also shaping them through mentorship, through guidance, through, hey, when I was an independent trainer, I struggled and hit so many pitfalls. Look, you know, come to me with your ideas, but maybe we throw a curveball. Instead of doing X, we do Y. So things like that, these guys are really starting to take off.
You're developing entrepreneurs in the fitness industry. So who makes a great personal trainer? I mean, you see these guys usually, like, you're a big guy, right? Or is it always that super fit person with the great physique? Is that who you want as your personal trainer? Is that who succeeds in that realm?
You know what's funny is, you know, the status quo is you always want to see a ripped body, right? Because that's just kind of like, oh, well, all right, like that's some motivation. However, that's not the main criteria we're looking for.
Okay.
You got to have drive, you got to have hustle, and you definitely have to have grit, because in a independent environment, you are ultimately in charge of your schedule and your day. So I need you to be on your toes. And if you're more concerned about keeping your six pack as opposed to how are you creating impact for others, how are you helping others, and how are you, again, solving solutions when others are coming in, that's what I care more about. Not so much like, you know, are you extreme, are you a ripped hard body? So,
well, you know what? I have to imagine it takes a leap of faith a little bit for a personal trainer to leave one of these larger corporations and then kind of go out on their own, right? They're becoming entrepreneurs. It just makes me think about, where does that confidence come from? I mean, the right business partner, the right facility can give you a lot of extra confidence.
You definitely have as I like to say, a come to Jesus moment when you make that transition from going from corporate to do all on your own. It's no longer like, hey, here's my hours, here's my schedule. I know I have to be here at this time. You now take on so many other hats than just, hey, Susie, come in for a workout.
Right.
That huge confidence is really the foundation that really takes these entrepreneurs to the next level. And it's truly sink or swim. You either jump in and you're like, this is me,
Yeah.
or you jump in and you're like, I went out quick because I'm not doing it.
Well, they've got to create their own sales, right? Because you're obviously, they do a good job, but that business doesn't come automatically. Somehow they've got to become salespeople.
Exactly. And that's what's really hard, especially in the fitness industry. I'm not saying all personal trainers have a trouble with sales, but we are such a giving people that when it comes time to actually bring in a high ticket sale, the close really isn't there. And so now that's where I come in to mentors. Hey, we're going to target more to the emotional and target more, on the psychology side of sales, as opposed to throwing out numbers and hoping that bait lands somewhere.
Right. And I can imagine it's like such a rewarding career. You're helping people build their entrepreneurial dreams, but yet the end user, right, the person who maybe needs to lose a few pounds, maybe they don't have the confidence to go out on the beach in their bikini. You're helping get them their confidence.
Exactly. And that's where we're kind of, a double-edged sword, because we are giving back to the community.
Yeah.
We are the affordable solution to corporate gyms. We want you to come in, and we understand that, as personal trainers, sometimes we're the first line defense of health, and there is no gray area. You're either increasing your health or you're truly declining.
Yeah.
And if we aren't providing a solution, then we ultimately understand we're letting more people go and decline in health, and that's not what we want.
Right. Well, so you have the system for doing it. Is it a facility where we can go and use certain apparatus to get stronger?
Yeah. So we definitely have you can come into our facility and we look just like a corporate gym.
Okay.
So we have every machine you have. We have every piece of equipment that's going to make you successful. But we also have a few other, science-based technology machines, like our in-body scale, where you can jump on there and you're getting everything from how much water you're holding to how much fat you have to how much actually muscle is on your frame. And these really are kind of what set us apart from corporate gyms, because we're able to be like, all right, well, I don't want you to worry that the scale's going up. It's going up because we're adding muscle and you're losing fat, and here's the real facts.
Yeah.
So,
well, okay, so we're thinking about your business. Obviously, you're providing tons of opportunity. It's creating an opportunity for you and your family, but it hasn't always been so easy. Talk to us about the tougher times in life and how in your journey to where you're at today.
So, let's just kind of start from the beginning. I was born in Oakland, and my mother is a survivor, to say the least. So at the age of 3, my dad was locked up in San Quentin and did some serious time until I was about 18. And so because we were in Oakland, we went from Oakland to Hayward, and we just lived by bare means. Like we weren't thriving at all. The tough part is I've always been a big kid. I got into trouble fast, and you can ask my mother. So by kindergarten, I was ditching school and hanging out with the older kids and running the streets. So we would move, and it was always trials after trials after trials after trials.
Because you got in trouble, the family moved.
Exactly. I would get in trouble, we would move, and then we kept moving further and further south to where I call East San Diego home. And it's definitely not La Jolla by any means,
right.
And by this time, we had, it's 7th grade, and the struggles there, this is where I really started to fall off. By not having a father figure, I just lacked authority and was a rebellious child. So I had a serious drug addiction by 8th grade, and by 9th grade, I had been in 3 group homes.
Wow.
And, power to my mother, she was trying to really keep me on the right track, but there was no controlling me. And the only thing that really saved me was football. So I got into the football, and everyone's like, you're a big kid. Why you're not playing football? Yeah. And I was like, because 1, I don't have the grades. 2, I really don't have the discipline or the structure. But I wanted the structure, but it's that double-edged sword. Like, don't tell me what to do, but I need this.
Yeah.
So I was still battling my demons of trying to escape the street life, escape, my demons of, the drug addiction while going 100% in the football. This is where, I'm learning life lessons of how to really overcome obstacles. And what's really tough is by senior year, I was finally doing and on the right track, but had such a hard time leaving that life behind me. I was stabbed 3 times walking home. I had my head cut, my neck was sliced, and my stomach. And this was like the ultimate defining moment for us all, because I called my mother, and it was a very sobering phone call as I'm bleeding out.
You called her from the street?
I had a
or
cell
from the
phone,
hospital?
yeah.
Oh.
So as I was trying to walk home because she had a curfew for me. She's like, you need to be home literally before the lights are on, especially in this neighborhood. And so the only way to really, make it was I had to take a shortcut down an alley. We all know don't go down an alley, but it's the only way I can make it without being in trouble. So there's a lot of gangs in East San Diego, and I was cut pretty bad. And as I called her, I literally was like, Mom, I'm going to die, And she starts trying to, keep it together. And I'm trying to keep it together because here I am bleeding out. And she picks me up, and you could see, she's always been tough, but you could see, like.
She walked out and found you?
I was literally a block away from our house. Like, I was right down the street. I could see our street lights, and she picks me up in our car, and she rushes me to the hospital.
Okay.
And has always had a goofy sense of humor, but when she picked me up, it was like, I don't know if you're gonna make it. So that was the defining moment of like, like we need to move, because you can't seem, you're doing good, but this past life continues to get you. So at 18, I was studying kinesiology and made it to San Diego State. Was super fortunate to play on the football team. But however, fate had it, and I'm so grateful for my son. At 18, I had my son. So having no father, being 18, and now a young dad, I was like, I don't know how to be a dad. Yeah. So I moved out here to Sacramento. And by moving out here to Sacramento, I say this all the time, he has saved me in more ways than he will probably ever realize.
Your mom saved you, and now your son is saving you. Wow.
Right?
Wow.
Man.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I come out here at 18, and now it's like, okay, well, it's time to, man up, and it's time to really provide, because I don't want him to go through the struggles that I went through by not having a father and no identity in that way. So I struggled to really find my way, because everyone's like, hey, hurry up and grow up. And I'm like, like, I barely know how to open a checking account at 18, let alone like, how do you want me to balance bills and pay my rent and have this apartment? So I struggled and continued to struggle, going job to job to job, because the ultimate thing was I didn't know what my purpose was. I had no idea. I wanted to help others, but at the same time, how could I help others if I can't help myself? So I landed a job at the railroad by chance and was struggling to pay child support. And it was just one of those things where it was like the funds weren't there. Child support was really hammering down on our door. And then with the railroad, and the fluctuations of the union, they're like, we're going to let you go. Oh. And I was like, what do you mean you're going to let me go? When they let me go, this is 2016 now, where I really struggled and again hit rock bottom. I was so tired of working for others and so tired of feeling like a failure and like I just couldn't get things right. I was homeless and living out of the back of my truck, and would sleep in apartment parking lots because I could blend in as a parked vehicle. And I would see my son, my relationship really got tarnished. And one of the hardest things I ever had to stomach was my son's mother was, I think you need to sign over your rights to the stepdad because you are on a downward spiral. And that was the breaking point to where I was like, he's the only reason I live. He's the only reason why I get up and do what I do. So I honestly flirted with the idea because I felt like such a failure, but I can't do it. That's the only one perfect thing I've ever done was have him. So I ultimately struggled with the idea and felt like such a failure that I put a gun to my head in the back of my truck. And, I squeezed the trigger because I was done. I just didn't want to continue anymore. And as I squeeze the trigger, the gun jams.
Oh.
So the gun jams, and I'm here with all this, like, roller coaster of emotions, because I'm like, I don't want to live, but now I'm still here. What is going on? So that's the end of 2016. So at this point, I'm like, look, I've got nothing to lose. I've always loved, the gym, and the gym is the only thing that has ever kept me straight and narrow. I went 100% into being a personal trainer. So April 2017, I created Absolute Flex Appeal. And same thing, my son saves me again. For my first 3 months of business, I didn't make a profit. My first 3 months, my only client was my 8-year-old son. And so I would bring him into the gym and I would take pictures of like, look, I'm a certified personal trainer. Look at me training this 8-year-old. I can train you too,
Look at this six pack.
That was my marketing pitch.
Oh,
and
my gosh.
As we kept going, I just was like, look, I've been homeless. I've been rock bottom. To me, I was living my dream, even though I wasn't making money. And so the hustle was always there because it was the passion. So I was like, I love what I'm doing, even though I'm not making money. My first client, and I'll never forget this, he's now a Division I wrestler at Arizona State. He got a full ride. Came in and he was like, I'm looking for a personal trainer. And I was so excited and so nervous because I was like, oh, this is my first sale. I was like, I'll train you 12 times a month for $100. He's like, that's it? And later I did the math and it really broke down to like $8 a session. But I was so excited and I literally felt like this is it. Like, I made it. I'm a millionaire. Like, look at me go. Like dream come true. So,
okay, very inspirational story. And I know you're inspiring others. You're inspiring me today because, if people can come back from such low points in life to having this success that you obviously now have, I have got just two final questions. Like, one, what would you say to your mom who has stood by you this entire time? As you think about her and your relationship?
Honestly, it's just always, I love you, like, thank you for never giving up, and if it wasn't for you being so persistent and us butting heads, I legitimately would not be here. So I'm grateful for that.
And then I guess wisdom. Today's my mom's birthday. My mom died a few months ago, and that's like I think about moms on a day like today. But just words of wisdom for somebody out there who's thinking, you know what, I might have that entrepreneurial bug too. I may have gone through some low times. Maybe I can use those low times to motivate me, or maybe there's something else, somebody else in my life, like your son, that can motivate me or inspire me. Advice to that next person in line.
The next person in line, like it is, everything is always going to be a struggle. Everything is always going to be a, hill climb. And if you are overcoming adversity and the obstacles that you're facing on a daily basis, why not do it while you're chasing your passion, right? And the biggest thing is, if you're chasing your passion, the other things don't seem as significant. But if you're in a environment where you're like, I can't stand this, I'm working for someone else, this isn't what I love, you truly feel like your world is caving in on you. My real advice is follow your passion, go 100% in on it, and live your life. Because as we all know, and you and I are both big fans of Gary Vee, we're all dying. So if you don't live it now, you're never going to live it.
If you're not living, you're dying. And Tyler, thanks for coming on the show. Thanks for being so open with your story. It's inspired us today. Thank you.
Thank you.
If you like our entrepreneurial stories, if you like the messages that we bring that inspire, if you want a little more Mark Haney, not everybody does, but if you do, feel free to subscribe. Feel free to be part of our community, engage, comment, share. I want to get to know you better. You want to get to know me better. Follow me on all our social media platforms at The Mark Haney. I look forward to knowing you better, and let's get to know each other better so we can help build these businesses that we love.